Welcome to the deep dive. We're going way back in time to ancient Egypt today.
Always a good place to visit, full of mystery and wonder.
Right, and we're not just looking at like the typical stuff. I mean, we do have ancient texts,
Yeah.
but also academic papers.
Yes, and we have some really intriguing theories we're diving into today from experts like Laurence Gardner.
And it all revolves around this idea that ancient Egyptians might have used a powerful substance,
Potentially even linked to cocaine.
and that their influence could stretch unbelievably far, like as far as Australia. We've got all these sources to dig through.
To fully understand this theory, though, we need to start with a particular site, Serabit el-Khadim.
Okay, so Serabit el-Khadim. For those of us who haven't been there recently, where is this place and why is it important?
Well, it's in the Sinai Peninsula, an ancient temple complex. It's actually considered by some to be the real Mount Sinai from the Bible.
Whoa. Okay, so not just any old temple. This could be like the actual spot for one of the most famous stories ever.
Yeah, it makes it a pretty significant location for sure. And one of the first archaeologists to really excavate the site was Flinders Petrie.
Flinders Petrie. I feel like I've heard that name before.
Oh, yeah, he was a pioneer in the field. And he found these inscriptions at Serabit el-Khadim that he described as non-Egyptian.
Non-Egyptian. So like what, from a different culture entirely?
Potentially, yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe even suggesting like a Semitic influence.
Hold on. Non-Egyptian inscriptions at a site that could be the real Mount Sinai. Okay, now we're talking. This sounds like it's about to get good.
It does, doesn't it? And there's more. Petrie also found something else there. This is where things get interesting. He found this strange white ash at the site.
White ash. Okay. So I'm assuming this isn't just like leftover campfire ash.
Right.
Yeah.
And Laurence Gardner, a researcher and author, had a pretty radical theory about this white ash.
I'm ready for it. What did Gardner think it was?
He thought it wasn't ash at all, but a substance called MF-EAT. Okay, that's a new one. It's described as this white powder, but with extraordinary properties. Possibly a monatomic form of gold or platinum group metals.
Monatomic. I'm not sure I've heard that term before.
It essentially means that the metal exists as single atoms instead of bonded together.
Oh, okay.
And when metals are in this monatomic state, they can have some really unusual properties, some even bordering on the supernatural.
Okay, so we're talking about a substance that could potentially defy our understanding of physics. What kind of extraordinary properties are we even talking about here?
Gardner suggests M-aperitif could do things like levitation, even energy storage.
Hold up. Are we saying ancient superpowers? This is starting to sound like a movie.
It's a fascinating theory, that's for sure, and Gardner actually connects M-aperitif to some really compelling evidence.
Like what?
For example, there's Stela 116 at Serabit el-Khadim.
Another stele. All right, I'm following.
This one depicts Hathor, the goddess, presenting the substance to the pharaoh, and it looks like the pharaoh is inhaling it.
Inhaling it. So this wasn't just like a random ingredient. It seems like this was part of something important. A ritual, maybe?
Maybe. And the description of M-Petit in the Westcar Papyrus, an ancient Egyptian text, seems to match what we see on Stele 116.
So we've got a visual on the stele, a description of the papyrus, and both could be referring to this M-Petit. And if it's as powerful as Gardner claims, this could explain a lot. I mean, it could explain how the ancient Egyptians did all the incredible things they did. But here's the big question. Is there any actual evidence to support the existence of M-Petit and these supposed properties?
That's the million-dollar question. Gardner's theories are definitely interesting, but they are very controversial. There's no definitive proof. Not yet, anyway.
So we're in what-if territory here.
We are, but sometimes those what-ifs lead to amazing discoveries and a whole new understanding of the past. And there's one more piece of this puzzle that adds another layer.
Okay, I'm all ears. What is it?
It has to do with something found in Egyptian mummies.
Cocaine.
Cocaine, like the drug, in ancient Egypt. How does that fit in? While there's no direct link between cocaine and emphaquitsent, the fact that it was present in ancient Egypt does raise questions like, where did it come from? How was it being used? For medicine, rituals, who knows?
It definitely adds a whole new level of complexity to this whole thing. So far, we've got a mysterious white powder, possibly connected to advanced technology,
Yeah.
and maybe even the biblical Exodus. But wait, you mentioned Australia earlier. How does Australia fit into all of this?
That's where the Gosford glyphs come in. These are a series of hieroglyphs carved into sandstone in a very remote area of Australia.
Hold on, are we talking about Egyptian hieroglyphs? in Australia? That's a long way from the pyramids. I'm guessing most people haven't heard of this.
Not at all. For years, these glyphs were dismissed as a hoax.
Oh, really?
But there's been some recent analysis by some experts from Egypt, and they've revealed something incredible.
Okay, what?
The glyphs seem to tell the story of an Egyptian crew who were shipwrecked.
Wait, are we talking about ancient Egyptians sailing to Australia? That changes everything.
It's a possibility that's gaining traction.
This deep dive is about to get a lot deeper. What do the glyphs say about their journey? Like, did they actually make it all the way to Australia? And if so, what were they doing there?
We'll have to explore that in the next part.
How in the nine hills did you get in here? This better be good.
Welcome back. So before the break, we were just starting to get into these Gosford glyphs.
Yeah, you left us hanging with the possibility of ancient Egyptians being shipwrecked in Australia. I need some answers. What does the translation of these glyphs actually say?
Okay, so the glyphs tell a story. An Egyptian fleet heading north. They encountered a massive storm, devastating. The survivors made it to a land, they call it New Land, and they created a burial site there for their comrades who were lost.
New land, huh? Is that what they were calling Australia, you think?
That's what some researchers think, yeah. And the details in the glyphs, they match up really well with the actual geography of where they were found, so it does kind of make you wonder.
It's mind-blowing to think they could have sailed all the way across the world back then. Is there anything else in those glyphs about the journey itself?
There's a passage that describes them meeting the native inhabitants. They call them, they say they have no deception.
No deception. Wow. That's pretty high praise. Sounds like they had a good first impression of the Aboriginal Australians.
It does, yeah. It seems like it was a peaceful encounter, maybe even some exchange of knowledge or resources. I mean, who knows? It really raises questions about how these two cultures might have interacted.
Yeah, if they did actually make it to Australia, and it's sounding more and more likely, what was their relationship like? Did they trade, share stories? Did they learn from each other?
It's a mystery we're still trying to figure out. But the Gosford glyphs definitely give us a peek into a past that we're just scratching the surface of.
It's incredible to think how much we still don't know about our history. So we have a potential connection with ancient Egypt, this amphirstes substance, and a possible voyage to Australia. You mentioned the Ark of the Covenant earlier, too. How does that fit into all of this?
Well, Laurence Gardner, the one who came up with the Empecasti theory, also suggests a connection between this substance and the Ark of the Covenant.
Wait, hold on. The Ark of the Covenant, like the one from the Bible, that seems like a bit of a stretch.
It might seem that way at first, but Gardner's theory is that the Ark wasn't just some religious artifact. It was a technological device, possibly even a tool for creating or harnessing Empecasti.
Okay, hold up. How does a golden chest become some high-tech gadget? I'm having trouble picturing that.
Well, think about it. The Ark, it was made with layers of gold and acacia wood, right?
Yeah.
Gardner believes that this specific construction could have created an electrical potential. And when you combine that with certain rituals, certain ingredients, he thinks it might have been able to generate.
So are we saying this was some kind of ancient science experiment?
It's a possibility. And it makes you think about certain biblical stories in a whole new light, like the golden calf, for example. Some people think that maybe it was a misinterpretation of an actual technological process involving Empecasti.
Wow. That's fascinating. It's like we're seeing these ancient stories through a whole new lens. Are there any other biblical connections to this Empecasti theory?
There's actually one more connection I'd like to talk about. Remember that conical shape of the substance the pharaoh's given in Stele 116?
Yeah, it kind of looked like an ice cream cone.
Well, that shape is very similar to something called bread of the presence, described in the Bible, also known as showbread.
Shewbread. That's the bread that was placed in the tabernacle, right? The portable sanctuary where they kept the Ark of the Covenant.
Exactly. And some people believe that showbread might have been more than just symbolic bread. They speculate that it could have actually contained Empecasti. making it a very special kind of sustenance with extraordinary properties.
So we're talking about a substance that could maybe defy gravity, maybe extend life, and was actually eaten as part of these rituals.
We are. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Remember, we're dealing with theories here, not confirmed facts.
Right, right. Important to stay grounded, especially with such amazing claims.
Absolutely. But even if we take these theories with a grain of salt, they do offer a really exciting glimpse into alternative interpretations of history and those ancient texts. And there's one more aspect to this that I think you'll find pretty interesting.
Okay, I'm ready. What else is there? Okay, so mysterious white powder, ancient voyages, the Ark of the Covenant, we've covered a lot. What's this last intriguing aspect you mentioned?
Some scholars, Laurence Gardner comes to mind, believe that the figure of Moses, from the Bible,
Yeah.
well, they believe he might be based on Akhenaten, a pharaoh trying to bring about a pretty radical religious shift in Egypt.
Wait, are we talking about rewriting history here?
In a way, yes. You see, Akhenaten, he tried to shift Egyptian religion toward monotheism, worshiping a single god, Akhenaten. It didn't last long, and when he died, it was almost as if they tried to wipe him from history.
What are we talking about here, alchemy?
Well, Gardner believes this emphasis was central to Egyptian rituals, and maybe even, and this is where it gets really interesting, the key to some of their most impressive achievements.
Okay, now you've got my attention. What kind of achievements are we talking about?
Well, Gardner, he's not shy about making bold claims. He suggests that amphutite might be the legendary philosopher's stone. The one alchemists have been searching for centuries.
Hold on. Now we're getting into science fiction territory. Are we talking about real science here, or are we venturing into the realm of fantasy?
Well, there is some scientific research on monatomic elements. These are single atoms of certain metals, gold, for example. And they do have some unusual properties, including superconductivity.
Okay, so there's some real science behind this. But to link that directly to ancient Egyptian technology, that seems like a bit of a stretch, doesn't it?
It does. It does. We need to approach these ideas with a healthy dose of skepticism. But it's still mind-blowing to think that ancient civilizations might have possessed knowledge, technologies that we haven't even dreamed of yet.
All right, so we've got a mysterious mountain, a potentially history-altering pharaoh, and a substance that might hold the key to, well, Glassford glyphs, if they're authentic, provide a tantalizing piece of the puzzle.
Probable. They open up a whole new avenue of research, encouraging us to explore the potential connections between these cultures. Oh, wow, we've covered a lot of ground today. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep exploring the hidden depths of our world.